5 practices, restraints, the don'ts. Restraints these are the foundations of spiritual life. So if you want to be a yogi, a meditator, there are 5 practices one must do. Yama includes these 5. What are they? Ahimsa, non-violence. Non-violence. Satya, truth. Now remember, these not to be done means it's not that you have to not do ahimsa. You have to do ahimsa, not do violence. Non-violence is not committing violence. Truth is not telling falsities. So, satyam, truth. Then, brahmacharyam, sense control, basically here, celibacy, or avoiding sexual impropriety. So, brahmacharya. Then, aparigraha, non-acceptance of gifts. Aparigraha, we'll see. I can see eyebrows going up. How can you not accept gifts if you are in society? What will happen to, what do they call it? Black Friday or... Black Friday? Yes. So, then we will see. And then the last one is asteyam, non-stealing. So 5 practices. Ahimsa, satya, brahmacharya, aparigraha, asteya. What do they mean? First of all, non-violence. Non-violence in thought, word, and deed. Again, of course, appropriate to your position in society. Avoidance of violence in thought, word, and deed. If you are a monk, it's an absolute practice. If you are a soldier in society, then it has to be adjusted, moderated that way. But everybody can and should practice non-violence as far as possible. Thought, word, and deed. The Yoga Sutra says, in perfection in non-violence, when the yogi is perfected in non-violence, even animals who are violent towards each other, natural enemies, they will play peacefully in front of such a yogi. So the lamb and the lion play peacefully in front of the yogi who's established in non-violence. In fact, there are a lot of interesting work being done in positive psychology now. Steven Pinker and others are doing a lot of interesting work showing that you may not believe it, but actually we live in less violent times. In terms of what happened just day before yesterday, you may not believe it, but in the terms of history, of hundreds of years, of thousands of years, actually our time is less violent than ever before. Not only that, I was seeing a recent study, non-violent struggles versus violent struggles, for whatever end. Some kind of social reform or a freedom movement or whatever. It's the non-violent struggles, they have studied it. They have been more successful on the average than the violent struggles. It's an interesting study that I came across. And so on. So non-violence, ahimsa, again adjusted to your particular circumstance. But the intention must be always non-violent. I remember reading about this great martial artist, a karate expert, a Japanese teacher, who was really lethal. And one of his students writes that it was in those days when the mugging was pretty common in the streets of New York. So he said, I always wondered what would happen to the poor mugger who tried to mug my sensei, my teacher. And actually one day he got held up by some guy with a knife or something. Perfect for using his very advanced karate. And what did this teacher do? He quietly handed over the money and then let the man go. And when he was asked, why didn't you defend yourself? You know what the teacher said? He showed these hands, which could smash bricks and tiles and so on, wood. He said, how can I use these on a human being? So that is non-violence. From a position of strength, not from weakness. Non-violence requires strength. Non-violence. Vivekananda was once asked, what should the weak do when oppressed by the strong? And he said, why? Thrash the strong, of course. So non-violence not from a position of weakness, from a position of strength. Then truth, satyam. Now here, what is mentioned here is one should not tell falsities. What is being said, recommended here is not that you should go around telling all sorts of truths to all people all the time. You'll find yourself very unpopular very soon. But nobody has forced you to tell an untruth. So you're a businessman. You don't have to go around telling all your business secrets to everybody because it's the truth. No. But don't tell untruths. Honesty is fundamental. I have earlier told you the story of the yoga teacher whom this man approached and said, "Teach me meditation, Patanjali yoga." And the yoga teacher said, "Well, all right, there are 8 practices, and the first one is you have to tell the truth, the yama, you have to tell the truth, and you have to have self-control." And this man said, yeah, I know all that. They taught us all that in kindergarten. Skip that part. Teach me how to sit, how to breathe, how to meditate, the cooler parts later on, the more glamorous parts. And this, his answer, the yoga teacher's answer, it works best in Hindi, I'll tell you and then translate. The teacher said, "Aap Ashtanga Yoga sikhoge ya Vikalanga Yoga sikhoge?" Are you going to learn 8-limbed yoga or the handicapped yoga, with -2 limbs? The first 2 limbs are moral practices. You want to leave out those moral practices and learn and get the other 6 limbs? Won't work. And the teacher said, "Aap black money par asan bichha ke dhyan karoge, dhyan hoga," in Hindi. You're going to have, black money is undeclared income, stashed away income. You're going to have your stash of, cash, and you're going to put your meditation mat on top of that and sit and meditate. You think you can meditate? You cannot. Truth, honesty. It is said, "Satyam bruyat, priyam bruyat, ma bruyat, satyam apriyam." Tell the truth, tell it sweetly, and don't tell harsh truths. Even if you have to tell harsh truths, there is a way of telling a harsh truth. Somebody in Holy Mother, Ma Sharada, she told one of her disciples who was the habit of, had a sharp tongue, "Why do you speak like that, my child? When you're going to talk to a person who has a defect in the foot maybe, instead of saying, 'How did you become lame?' we say, if you really must say something, how did your foot get that way?" Something softer. There's a sweeter way of putting it. If you have to tell a harsh truth, that also can be put in a soft way, in a sweet way, non-hurting way. I like this. Mark Twain, he said, "I have often seen people who claim to be fond of the brutal truth." Mark Twain says, "Well, people who claim to be fond of the brutal truth are more fond of brutality than the truth." Often they are more fond of the brutality than the truth itself. There is a saying, what should you say? "Satyam hitam mitam bruyat, abhisamvadi peshalam." It's a very nice saying in Sanskrit. Tell the truth. Speak that which is beneficial. Hitam means beneficial. Think about it. Is it beneficial? Tell that which is, and speak less. Mitam, limited. And abhisamvadi, that which is universal, not one point of view. That would be the end of all our political pundits and all the talk shows and all of people arguing for this point of view or that point of view and coming to blows. Well, as far as possible, let's say. And peshalam, sweet, gentle. The Hindi translation would be komal, very, very, very soft. One Swami recommended that you should think thrice before uttering words. Before saying something, think it through thrice. Is it true? Is it useful? How can I use the minimum possible words? Is it universal? Is it sweet? Well, even if not 3 times, at least once, one should run it through one's mind. So satyam, truth. Then brahmacharyam, avoiding sexual impropriety. Depending on whether one is committed to a vow of celibacy, a monk, or a householder. For different persons in different stations of life, the vow will be different. But still, brahmacharya. Swami Vivekananda said that the chaste brain is tremendously powerful. A lot of energy is wasted otherwise. So in spiritual life, power comes from sense control, from chastity. So brahmacharya has been recommended to whatever extent your position in life allows you. Brahmacharya. Then aparigraha, not accepting gifts. That might seem a strange one, but actually accepting gifts. Remember, we are going to meditate. So the mind has to be, it's going to be very refined and delicate. We have to talk about subtleties here. Accepting gifts opens you to obligations. You automatically feel the need to give back. You may not think so, but if you are in advertising, in sales, you know that it is so. One of the principles of sales is the reflex to give back, reciprocation reflex. Anybody in sales, they know it. That's why a salesman will first come and say, they won't say, buy this. They'll come knock at your door and say, I want to give you a gift. It'll be something simple, small, not very expensive. The moment you accept the gift, the next step will be, not buy this. Can I speak to you about this product? And immediately you feel softened that you've accepted something. So what's the harm in listening to him? You don't normally take a gift and slam the door. Thank you very much and goodbye. You are softened. So giving back. You are immediately under obligation. Your mind is affected. Further, Swami Vivekananda clearly mentions, it's understood in yoga, the evil tendencies of the giver's mind also enters our own minds. There's a story about Swami Premeshananda, who was a disciple of the Holy Mother, a very revered monk of our order. And one day a gentleman came and he wanted to give him a gift. A nice walking stick, because the Swami was frail and had ill health. A cane on which he could lean and walk. And the Swami said, no thank you, I don't need it. And this man said, Swami, he understood. So he said, Swami, I don't want anything in return. I don't want anything in return. Just take it. I don't want anything at all. I'll be very happy you just take it and then do whatever you like. And the Swami took it and he said, whatever I like? He said, yes. Let me break it now. I'm going to break it now. And he saw the shock on that man's face. You see, even if you say that I don't want anything in return, it's subtly in the mind, it's there. If I broke any random stick, you just think the Swami's gone crazy. But this is your stick, which you're giving it to me, the cane, and I'm going to break it in front of you. And obviously you're shocked. So there is a subtle expectation. There is this little attachment to that thing. It's mine, I'm giving it to you. You will treat it well. So, obligation, we get into obligation. And the last practice is asteya, non-stealing. Quite obviously, one should not accept, one should not take what does not belong to one, even without permission. Once somebody bought a couple of lemons, I think, from a place to Sri Ramakrishna. Right, to Sri Ramakrishna. And so that person is to give for Sri Ramakrishna. But in the meantime, the owner of that land had changed. So the trees belonged to somebody else. And Sri Ramakrishna couldn't take it, couldn't use it. He asked for it to be returned. Because it's not mine and it's not due to me. And this one can extend more subtly, you think, how much is mine really? If you look at the modern environment movement today, just because I'm rich, just because I can do it, is it really mine? Do I really have a right to these resources? There was this philosopher who thought about how much he should donate. And he developed a philosophy based on that, and he found that other than the bare subsistence that I have, I really have no right to even to the earnings that I'm getting, which I get from a job. I should give it away. And he used to actually give it away. There are such people. So these are the 5 basic practices, the moral restraints, the don'ts. Non-violence, truth, chastity, non-acceptance of gifts, and non-stealing, not using or taking possession of something that does not belong to me. So these are the 5.